set.
We are back, baby. I'm joined by my 3-0 co-host Justin. How you doing?
Week 3, you and I both had some games come down to the wire this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say less for you. You had like a more of a speed bump than anything, where it was just like a moment of thinking you
Yeah, but
might
Brandon
lose.
still had hope, and it was fun to see that disappear.
Yeah, and in his view, it sucks ass to drop 137 and be 0-3 in that week 3 matchup. But that's how the cookie crumbles, man. I dropped my lowest score of the whole season, got my first win.
Hey, good for you,
So,
buddy. We're on the way
yep,
up.
that's right. So we still have 3 undefeated teams, yes?
Yes, we still have 3 undefeated teams. Um, do we want to dive into standings real quick before we go anywhere else? We're starting to, there's some packs forming. 3 teams, like you said, undefeated. Our number one team, lo and behold, Logan Barnes takes the number one spot.
Yeah,
Highest
man.
scorer by 4 points. I'm right on his heels. Trenton's our last 3-0 team. And then we've got just a couple teams. Only 5 teams with winning records right now. And that would be Josh, CJ, and Chris. No, I'm sorry. Just Josh and CJ sitting there at 2-1. I was distracted by Josh changing his name. I wasn't ready for
I
that.
was in a way that must have just happened.
That
So
must have
it's
just happened.
yeah, Kamara great again.
Yeah.
See, why would you not go just Kamara Harris? Like Kamara
Sure.
Harris, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the
sure.
easy way. This is too much.
Yeah, he's trying to do a little bit of both. He's playing both sides, and you just can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely Logan's coming out with this and just an absolute tear. Good for him. I have to play him this upcoming week, which is unfortunate. So at least I'll go 1-3, not 0-4.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2-3-0
After
starts.
two, and then there's half the league is at 1-2. And then
It's
our
gonna,
two
yeah,
defeated
yeah,
teams, Brandon and Austin. Things are
and
looking bleak.
yeah, we only have one person that hasn't broken 300 point scoring, and somehow he pulled out a win. But Michael sitting there at 276 is
Ugh.
pretty
Ugh.
gross.
Not a
Now,
whole
how do
lot to
you
look forward to.
feel? Yeah. Now, how do you feel about your playoff and Logan's playoff percentage both being 85% plus only 3 weeks into the season? Do you feel that's a little ridiculous?
It's a little ridiculous. I think it's 85% if nothing changes, which we both know is not going to happen. There will be injuries. There will be injuries, I guess, is the one thing
Yes,
that
there
could really
will.
happen. So that's 86% if everybody stays healthy and everybody performs like they're supposed to. But yeah, obviously, 3 weeks in, you can't really say anybody's got an 85% chance unless you take into account the last couple of years, seven wins gets you in more often than not. So
Hmm.
if you're looking at it that way, me and Logan only have to go 3-7 here on out, whereas everybody else has to kind of pull it together and go the exact
Climb it
opposite.
in. For
So
sure. For sure. But even putting Austin at 16% seems wild to me. But anyways, we'll see how that shakes out. Now, talking about injuries, we touched on that, so let's go ahead and dive into that part of the agenda. Why don't you go over some big ones for me?
I mean, we talked about it last week, just how decimated Nathan's roster was from injuries, and it got worse. Brock Purdy has a back injury. That is like you can't, nobody works with a back injury. Those are debilitating. Laporta gets carted off the field.
Did he?
Mixon, yeah, Laporta got carted off.
What was the injury?
I think it was a concussion. I think it was a head injury.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mixon should be back. Keenan, hopefully he's back. And then Thielen, a guy who finally got the quarterback, finally was going to start contributing. Thielen is just on IR, like maybe done for the year. So, golly.
Whoever has Deontay is probably pretty ecstatic about that.
Yeah. And I guess
But
we'll find
yes,
out who that is when we go through these games.
but yeah, Nathan's going through it. It'd be a good
Oh, yeah.
time for him to learn how to trade. I'll tell you that.
Well, trade what?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then Trenton Eckler went down. I don't know for sure. It was another concussion, another head
Yeah,
injury.
yep.
So, could be a couple of weeks. Eckler looked good in that game, so that's a little disappointing. CJ had Evan Ingram go down, and they threw a lot to that backup tight end. I don't know
That's
that he's
strange.
necessarily. I don't know that he's necessarily like some kind of waiver darling, but man, oh man, was he getting peppered.
So did Evan Ingram start that game?
I think so. Maybe I
Okay.
guess you could convince me otherwise. I guess I watched it, but only kind of. I
Well,
mean,
I know I didn't watch that game at all. Couldn't care less. But I know you. Yeah, you obviously had Josh Allen go bonkers. But I know he was out last week. Was it the same thing, or is it something
I
different
guess
here?
maybe I should have looked into that before I had him on the list. But either here nor there. Matt, you're looking at Devontae. Looked like he got murdered on the field. Tank Dell has an injury, not expected to miss any time, but still worth keeping an eye on because the Texans have so many receivers. Like they're not going to be shy about sitting the guy a week. They've got 5 dudes they throw the football to. And then Alex, how do you feel about McBride? Tell me a little bit about McBride's
Pain,
injury.
pain. He got a concussion. He's got a
Yeah.
concussion now. He wasn't carted off, and I didn't see him get hit nearly as hard as Devontae Smith did. So I think he has a chance to clear, but just with how sensitive they are about concussions, my guess would be he's going to sit a week. But that sucks. Prime matchup
Yeah.
against the Commanders.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's it for the injury minute. A lot of injuries
Okay.
out there.
And then,
But there's also a lot of teams that are pretty much unscathed at this point.
yeah, and that's really making a huge difference. Now, if we look at last week's, I forgot what I was about to say. I was looking at injuries, blah blah blah. Okay, last week's waiver report. It looked like the biggest bid was Carson Steele. It was a little bit of an overpay. We don't have to dive too deep into that. But other than that, any notable waiver pickups that you can remember from last week?
Derek Carr is going to be a big one. I mean, Logan got him. Logan's got Lamar starting, so it's really just insurance there.
Yeah, and he had a shit week anyways. The Saints came barreling back to earth.
And then let's see. People are finally starting to invest a little bit in defense, which is good to see. But no, doesn't look like anybody else was really a huge purchase. I made a big purchase that I probably shouldn't have, but I don't see it yet. Jordan Whittingham, $14. Looks like it's going to be worthless.
Yeah, you said in last week's pod you were going to drop some coin on him.
I was just peppering him. I wasn't thinking. I knew $14 was going to win it. I didn't know it would win it by 10, but
yeah,
whatever. You got to use your fab somewhere.
And then, did we have any trades last week?
No trades. And have you taken a look at the waivers this week? I know this is a theme we keep hitting.
God,
but the number one waiver addition, according to ESPN, obviously, Cody Parkinson. Colby Parkinson. I'm not excited about him. I don't know.
Having Hollywood Brown on this picture you sent me is wild, considering he's out for this season.
There is not a single person. I don't know. Does someone go for more than $10 this week?
I think your highest bid is going to be on defense this week.
Yeah.
I really do. It's going to be on the Titans defense. Yeah. But back on the trade thing real quick, I'm going to say this. I think this might be the lowest we're going to have this year. Maybe it picks up middle of season, but you're already having a lot of injuries. So maybe that makes it harder to trade. Sometimes that makes it more opportunistic.
Just as an example, because I agree, we're going to have a very low volume of trades this year. But like in my situation, I would love to go get, just as an example, Deontay Johnson. What would I take a look at my roster, put together a package for Deontay Johnson for me. Like, I just don't, and I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I'm looking at my roster like, man, if I bundled together 2 players to go get one, first of all, the other person's not going to be interested because it's going to be Jameson Williams and it's going to be, I don't know, Xavier Worthy. Is someone going to trade up anything of value for Jameson Williams, like an upgrade of Jameson Williams for Jameson Williams and Xavier Worthy?
Well, who has Deontay? So who has Deontay?
I don't fucking know. Okay, I figured it out. It's Josh. Josh has Deontay.
You cracked that code, did you? All right. So if I go look at Josh's team, the big question here is
Deontay was a bad example. Use Devontae Adams as an example, like a guy.
Oh shit. Well, at that point, you would need to be trading like one of your Stephon Diggs or
okay.
and then plugging in, another flex play. But
Who?
just for if I'm looking for Josh, I mean, maybe a Worthy, but the thing is, we need somebody that's in a very desperate situation for that second flex spot.
Okay, so
which he doesn't have right now. Let's look at someone whose team is incredibly shallow right now.
We're looking at Austin's roster.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to go get Rashee Rice, what would it take for Austin to cough up Rashee Rice? It would take.
So let me throw some your way. So Austin. So finally, someone hit me up about Jaden Daniels, as they should. He's quarterback 3 on the year. Austin does because he's obviously in quarterback hell. I told him I would give you Jaden Daniels and Aaron Jones for Rashee Rice.
Yeah, okay, I can see why you would do that, but I can see why he wouldn't do that.
So you think that, okay. So what would it take? Jaden Daniels and anyone on my team but Breece Hall. Would you take any of that for Rashee Rice? Because it's quarterback 3 on the year, and you can get anyone on my team but Breece Hall.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, I would take Ayuk. I would take Ayuk and Daniels plus for Rashee Rice.
Or, you would do that?
Yeah, for sure. I would do that.
Okay. See,
was that a bad example? I don't know.
No, I mean, I would do that too. That's what I'm saying. So there's just people that are really hurting because the double flex expands your roster so much that you almost have to sacrifice that bigger name for 2 startable assets.
Yeah.
But I know that's tough to do. You don't want to be getting rid of your best player. And I understand that completely. That's difficult. But
it's just a bummer.
CMC in the wings. It is a bummer. Yeah. It makes your team less sexy. But yeah, anyways, I think trades are going to be down. That being said, we can go ahead and get into last week's matchups. Well, our lowest scorer. What?
Yeah. No. Lowest highest score. That's all I was going to say.
You thought I was skipping it? You don't think I'm on my shit? I'm on my shit.
I'm sorry.
Lowest score was our boy CJ. Now, apparently, CJ went out for a pack of cigarettes. His family hasn't seen him in a little bit. I reached out to our boy CJ to see what's going on, and he responded with this song. So go ahead and hit that, Justin.
I think you reached out to Easton, right?
No. Well, Easton asked where his father was, and then CJ responded with this song.
A child arrived just the other day. He came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking for I knew it, and as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad, you know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then.
I guess CJ must have just taken it so hard. He just, can't bring himself to show himself back up at home.
That's what it is. But I tell you this, CJ, don't leave Easton like me. Go home to your boy. Give him a father. That being said, we know how people like me turn out. And then our boy, there is no darkness here so far for him this season. Logan Barnes, highest scorer, a disgusting amount of points, honestly. I think it was like 185.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to you, Logan. Hit it, Justin.
Back then, hoes didn't want me. Now I'm hot hoes all on me. Back then, hoes didn't want me. Now I'm hot hoes all on me. Back then, hoes didn't want me. Now I'm hot hoes all on me. Before I came up in the game, these hoes didn't show no love. They see me in the club and used to treat me like a scrub. They wouldn't holler cause my dollars wasn't swollen up. I bet they changed their mind when them 84s come rolling up. They see.
Good shit, Logan.
Good shit. Back them, hoes didn't want him. Now he's hot. They all up on him.
All on him.
Congratulations to Logan. He had a commanding week. That being said, we'll go ahead and dive into the matchups. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I can go ahead and I'll get things kickstarted. I'm looking at Chris versus Josh. Now the Makamara great again. Okay.
I hate it. I hate it.
Okay. And so he ended up dropping 132, totally respectable score. Chris didn't have a complete no-show, but 109, you're not happy with that.
Well, here's the thing with Chris, real quick. He got 50 out of Jawan Jennings.
Yes. Oh, okay.
And he lost. That is brutal. Sorry to cut you off.
Thank you. I think the people deserve to understand that context because, yes, 109, if Jawan Jennings only has his normal 9 points, then all of a sudden we're talking about Chris having 70 points total on the week. But on the you're happy if you're Josh because Dak showed up and CD really didn't have a great game. So this was, you can expect more of these points from Dak to land in CD's lap. So this is just, I would expect that to happen again. Deontay Johnson might be a top 10 option going forward this year because there's no other options in Carolina. So you were patient with Deontay Johnson and you finally got him with old Andy Dalton. Alvin Kamara still showing up, still being old. Man, that's kind of all there is to talk about. There were 2 zeros on Chris's side, and he's
Are you talking about that? Are you talking about that 0.3?
Yes, well, and the 0.0 out of Mark Andrews.
Yeah, so how'd you like to battle the Ravens tight end? The 1.4 to 0.
Not quite as epic as we thought it was going to be. Quentin Johnston finally came back down to earth. Man, Tyreek. What would you trade for Tyreek right now, looking at your roster?
Man, Tua is on IR. I don't know. I mean, I would obviously trade for him, but
right,
it sucks that
I was thinking about it today. I was looking at everybody's roster, figuring out if I was going to try and target anybody. He is obviously a huge target because if you're Chris and you're the Tyreek holder and you decide to hold on to him, you are hoping that the Rush trade actually happens. You're hoping Tannehill gets signed. Like you cannot be very hopeful about Tim Boyle beating or Skylar Thompson if he comes back healthy, but even he's dinged up now. So,
well, they're saying that it might be Tyler Huntley starting, which is maybe even worse.
I mean, at least Tyler Huntley will run the football. He will not necessarily pass to Tyreek again and again and again.
And remember this, he has over what word am I looking for? He has too many Dolphins. Okay. So now that you have so much exposure to both Tyreek and Devon Achane into the Dolphins offense, now this is hurting. Right. Yes. Tyler Huntley is not going to check down. He's going to take off, and that's going to destroy Achane. And then, Tyreek's going to hurt. So now if you're Chris, I am very much trying to move one of these guys.
Well, it's definitely not. So I don't know if you've seen, but I think Devon Achane is the only non-quarterback projected over 20 points this week.
Yeah, then maybe you move Tyreek, but I think you move one of them.
Yeah. Either way, the story of this game is Josh has a pretty good team, and the other team was just hot, soupy, sweaty garbage this week.
Yeah, Chris's team was bad. The only thing I'll say is if you're Josh, are you trying to trade for CMC? Obviously, at this point, Austin's 0-3. He's desperate. If you're Josh, what are you willing to give up for CMC?
I would probably look at, I don't know, because I think it would take more than you're willing to give up for a guy who's not playing. Like Deontay Johnson might get that done like right now as an immediate Band-Aid, but almost maybe Kenneth Walker. Now's a good time to flip him now that Charbonnet is like really stepping into a decent sized role there. And that's going to be a committee. So if you can go flip Kenneth Walker and turn him into CMC by adding, you don't want to, maybe Darnell Mooney. Maybe Darnell Mooney has enough upside that you can package both those guys and go get a guy on IR. But if I'm Austin, I don't do that. So I don't know.
If you're Josh, are you comfortable enough maybe trying to trade one of these receivers that are pretty startable, maybe some sort of package like you're saying, and then starting to plug in Terry after Terry's big game? Or you think that's more of a flash in the pan?
Maybe that is Deontay Johnson. Maybe that is the guy you look at in this trio of like CeeDee Lamb, Devontae, Deontay, and Terry. I think 4 weeks into the year, I guess 3 weeks in, those are guys who would start on just about anybody's roster. So,
agreed.
I think, there's 1 or 2 of these guys you can put together to go get something of real tangible value.
Okay, I'll take the next matchup. I'm going to take you versus Brandon. You walked out of this 3-0. He walked out of this 0-3. He dropped an honestly very respectable 137.9 points. Any doubts about the Bills coming into this season are officially silenced. You were wondering if it was a flash in the pan. We're 3 weeks in. Josh Allen's on a fucking tear. And you got him in the 3rd round?
He had 11 points last week.
I understand that.
I agree. The Bills look very good, but he had 11 points last week.
Because they got it to business early.
Yeah. I am... This is what's bailing me out, obviously. This is why you want a guy like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson on your team. This year, that might be 1-2. and in a tier by themselves because like Patty's not getting vertical. Jalen Hurts is throwing interception and fumbling every other football. So, having a guy like that and being able to get him like drafting 12th, I needed something that would set my team apart a little bit, give me some nos, and that's been Josh Allen. So
Yeah.
also,
and then
we met up for the games. Do you remember talking about how disgusting it was? I got 60 points for my running backs.
Yeah, I was about to say that. This was a battle of the running backs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, both of y'all's running backs popped their pussy. There's no doubt about it.
Oh my gosh, the pussies were popped.
They're popped and they are sweaty. Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, you went super hard on running back early on. That's paying off. Stephon Diggs with 10 receptions, though. Let's not turn our nose up on that. But at the end of the day, as we say, touchdowns are king, man. And you had 9. You had fucking 9 of them.
Quite a bit.
So obviously on Brandon's side, Kelsey is a concern. His lack of involvement looks very, very concerning, and that was a 3rd-round pick. Are you hopeful about Odunze? Are you thinking this is a one-off?
No, I think look, 23.4, you didn't draft him as that guy. So, if he turns into a 15-point-a-game kind of guy, I think that's exactly where you wanted Rome Odunze to be. Same with Cortland Sutton. Like, this is kind of what you expect a rookie number 2 for now. Keenan Allen's due to be back, so I'm not sure how long he's even going to have the opportunity to have 23 unless he's scoring touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins finally crashed back down to earth. How about that?
Yeah, and that was much needed. Starting Foreman has to just be the worst. Now, obviously, he's still waiting for A.J. Brown to get back, so we'll see there. But Cole Kmet on the bench with 25.7. I don't know if you want to be starting 2 Bears necessarily, but it's – man, can you imagine having to sit there and honestly think to yourself, should I start Kmet over Travis Kelce?
I don't know. Maybe it's time to go see if you can flip Travis Kelce for something. Hey, that's what, let's try and work some trades as we work through these matchups. If we're trying to grease the wheels on some trades, let's at least throw some ideas out there. And I think, Brandon, if I was looking at any piece on this team that I would be willing to go see what I can get, it's Travis Kelce for sure.
So the 2 that are in just absolute tight end hell are the ones that had the Ravens face off. Your Josh and your Chris. So but really, what do you trade for Kelce? I'm not trading fucking Ramondre Stevenson for Kelce. I'm not trading Achane for Kelce. I'm not doing any of that.
No, and if I'm looking at let's see if Kittle had played this week, I would have scored 200 points. I just want everyone to know that.
There's no way to know that.
The way Juwan Jennings went off, I was telling you last week, this is the Kittle game, and it should have been the Kittle game, but they held him out because they didn't think they needed him. Turns out they needed him.
They lose that game.
Yes, I knew they lost that game. I don't know why you made me doubt myself.
I didn't know if you started lagging. You just looked off, and I was like, is he frozen?
No, I was like, shit, did I get that wrong? No way I got that wrong. Josh Allen's a freak is the story. By the way, I just want you to know, and I want everyone to know, Josh Allen was the 2nd leading scorer on the week with 6 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter.
Wow. Yeah, it's been kind of similar to last year where quarterbacks are pretty down. Scoring overall is down, right? So where do you see that affected the most? Quarterbacks, of course. But it's just another absolute hell for tight ends this year. All those people that took them early are eating a big old bowl of shit.
All right. Talking about a couple of another 0-2 matchup that we had. Somebody had to come out the winner. Nathan was the beneficiary here. He ended up beating our boy Austin by about 20 points. Austin really didn't have anybody show up outside of Rashid. Oh, this is maybe, I thought Amari Cooper, he doesn't have an injury designation. I thought something happened there, but maybe not.
Oh, he does. No, he's questionable. Yeah, he does have he got banged up for sure.
Okay. So you had Amari Cooper, you had Rashid Rice go off, and that was your whole fucking team. Gosh, I guess you were so hopeful about starting the Raiders against Carolina, and there goes Andy Dalton just destroying you in real time, just adding insult to injury. Looks like they almost like Nathan ended up hitting exactly what Austin was projected. Nathan was projected to lose this game by 10 points. He was carried by our buddy Brock Purdy, who is now injured. Chase Brown and Justice Hill is your running back tandem. That
Well, look at the other one, man. Look at the other one on the other side.
yeah,
Like
this
that
is
is
gross.
This is the opposite of y'all's. This is, I mean, to trot out these running backs. At least Nathan's fucking dealing with injuries with Mixon being out.
Yeah,
But these are Austin starting running backs. This is why I pitched him Aaron Jones. I mean, you cannot be trotting out Zamir White and Javonte Williams as your starting running backs. That's insane.
it's a little crazy going into the year. I think you maybe could make a case Javonte Williams and Zamir White would be like serviceable RB2s, and they are not even that. So that's got to be disappointing because you probably went. Let's see, his draft started off with Christian McCaffrey, Amari Cooper, Rashee Rice. I think was a 4th rounder. Mike Evans. Like you drafted the wide receivers hoping you could punt the running back position.
Right.
Can't do it. You just can't beat fantasy. Like it's gonna.
No,
take
you
its
can't. Mike Evans had an incredible season last season. Now all of a sudden, 2 weeks in a row. I mean, let's look at his last 3 weeks. First week he was fine, 2 tutties, 23 points, but only 6 targets.
Yeah.
The next week you had 6 targets again. The tutties didn't come, 7.2. And then this week, and to be fair, he's probably being shadowed by Surtain, but 3.7. So that's incredibly frustrating. And then you're stuck in the same Dolphins.
This is kind of where I've been the last couple seasons. Is Chris Godwin's finally taken? Like, yes, Mike Evans may be being shadowed because he is that go-to guy, but Chris Godwin was always like just as talented as a Mike Evans. Like Chris Godwin, people forget, only 28 years old. Like Chris Godwin is in his prime today. So he's not like he's getting the targets. He's becoming the workhorse guy in that offense. He is a steal of the draft from where I sit. But okay, I did the last trade. You noodle around here. If you're, let's say you're, man, it's just going to be the tight ends. What if you're the Sam Laporta holder, Alex? Do you try and flip him for anything?
You're not going to get anything. He's at an all-time low. So I'm a financial advisor. You don't sell low, Justin.
Sometimes you have to cut your losses though, right?
That's true. Nathan won't trade. So it's probably moot to even talk about it. What I will say is I'll say 2 things. First of all, scale of 1 to 10. How worried are you about Michael Pittman?
Oh my God. Through the floor.
Okay. 15.
I wouldn't have touched him with the 10-foot pole on draft day. Like I think he was a 3rd rounder.
He was, man. I mean, the talent's there. You just got to realize how fucking bad AR is. We were all together watching those games. Do you remember that red zone interception when he threw it to 3 fucking Bears and the wide receiver was nowhere near him?
Turns out a guy who isn't good in college isn't good in the pros. Who would have thought? Like Joe Milton was drafted and like everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is just a guy with a big arm who runs. That's fucking Anthony Richardson. Like Joe Milton went in the 7th fucking round. Like what? It's crazy that Anthony Richardson had as much hype as he did, and it's only because he can run, and he hasn't even been doing that the last couple of weeks. So,
well, you know the reason why. The reason why is very evident. It's your quarterback. Josh Allen changed the narrative where, hey, go figure out the passing. That will just come through, and people don't realize it's a fucking exception.
Josh Allen had a 60% completion percentage at Wyoming, throwing to dudes who have 9 to 5s. Anthony Richardson was in the SEC at Florida, surrounded by talent, and couldn't complete passes. It's not the same.
I can't speak to the completion percentage, but I do, and I feel like I'm accurate here. Wasn't there a lot of concerns with Josh Allen's accuracy?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay.
Again, throwing to farmers.
Sure. And then the last thing I'll say is a little victory lap on a fuck you to you. Because Shakur has had 3 pretty good weeks in a row.
Yep.
And whenever I brought that up, you were like, oh, it's just because it's a fucking touchdown. But who'd you rather have right now, him or Brian Thomas Jr.?
Khalil Shakur, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I thought, bitch.
For sure. Oh, me personally, I don't know about everybody. All right,
next matchup.
Is this you?
This is me, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to take our lowest score, CJ Knox versus Trenton. Trenton put the absolute pipe on him. These rookies are showing up, bro. And God damn, I hate Trenton. I hate how and also he had surgery today, so I wish you the best. But I hate how lucky he is in fantasy. I mean, you go in there and you start Shaheed after he dropped 30 on me last week. He 0 burgers, but hey, it's not a problem. Hubbard goes out there and drops 28. You start Chuba Hubbard and he drops 28? That's outrageous. Patrick Mahomes is going to be frustrating this year. But anyways, Trenton's rookies are popping off. He had a good week. Jake Ferguson gave you 15.5. It was probably like the number one fucking performance of tight end this week. On CJ's side, yeah, it's gross. It's gross. Now, I know he's missing Puka and he's dealing with injuries and he's missing Jordan Love, but when your quarterback is dropping sub 10 points, you're fucked. It's looking like Rachaad White's going to be a bust.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yes. And Bucky Irving is getting worked in and it looks fantastic. Looks like what a disposable rookie running back should look like. Like he's going to get loaded up with targets the next 2 years and then we'll never hear about Bucky Irving again. But that's exactly what Rachaad White was.
Now, the good news is CJ has Bucky Irving. The bad news is he's stuck in this awful situation of always deciding which one to start. James Cook is the bright spot here. Garrett Wilson is starting to look like he won't return the value you're hoping for. Montgomery is continuing to be just a solid RB flex option. But overall, I think CJ's team is bad. Yes. I think this is a Sacco contender.
It's a Sacco contender that was coming into the week 2-0. So you got to like that. Talk about playoff percentages.
But like you look at his points scored, he's like bottom 4.
Right. Not good, but All right. So moving on, I'm going to go ahead and I'll take, hey, congrats on the win again, in case I didn't say it earlier. We have our good boy Alex against Matt Testicles. You got this by the skin of your teeth.
Dude, oh my God.
The absolute skin of your teeth.
I mean, it really came down to the last possession. If Joe Burrow throws the touchdown, he wins. And then Zach Moss ended up rushing it, which I'm sure Matt hasn't even reached out to me. I will say shout out to my boy Matt. I think he gets stuck in the most fucking Monday night showdowns, like down to the wire, skin of your teeth games. And he's usually on the wrong side of them. And there's nothing worse than that because you're already ready for the week to be over. And now you're having a fucking deal with just watching an agony as these players go back and forth. So anyways, yes, that game, it sucked to be a part of. I'm glad I won it, but Jesus.
Well, on the other side, I mean, so Joe Burrow finally showed up, but it was a game script where he absolutely had to. I mean, if the Bengals are going to keep losing these games and having to scramble at the end of the game, you're going to get some decent fantasy performances out of Joe Burrow. So that's good. Bijan Robinson. Look, nobody's going to score 20 points every single week. This just happened to be a down week on his side. Chris Olave finally really showed up in a big way. Brian Robinson fell down to earth. Devontae Smith was on pace to have a good game with A.J. Brown out. Unfortunately, that was the beneficiary of that was our boy Logan with Dallas Goedert, who you mentioned the best tight end performance. It was Dallas Goedert.
You're right. Yeah.
Which is how Logan ends up with this ridiculous amount of points. And his well, we'll get into it in the next matchup. But yeah, this one was really, really close. You did not have a good performance from any of your starting wide receivers. Your flex options got bailed out. Carson Steele, I told you, buddy, he's going to be a 3-yard halfback dive kind of guy. So you better hope for touchdowns.
72 yards, brother. Hard earned.
Aaron Jones, that's a great little pickup you found yourself with. Breece Hall's a stud. But, dude, Kyler Murray only put up half of Joe Burrow's point total, and you eked this one out. So it's a close matchup, close game. We love to see a little bit of, competition coming down to the wire in the league.
Yeah, no, not so much. Not me, but yeah, the only thing I'll touch on here is obviously that Calvin Ridley performance sucks because his first week, let me pull him up real quick. His first week was 8 points, which is meh. And then second week goes off with the receiving and rushing touchdown for 25. And then boom, Green Bay 1.9. Yeah. So having players like that is just an absolute beatdown. And then only thing I'll say is I'm very frustrated with Brandon Ayuk. I trusted my brother. I said, I don't think I want to take him. He said, no, he's the best option there. It's like, fine.
Just got paid.
Yeah, just got paid, and then Jawan Jennings goes out and looks like a fucking stud. But yeah, I'm now going to fall into this trap of always probably starting the wrong quarterback between Kyler and Jaden until someone takes one of them off my hands. Yeah, because
play the matchups.
I mean, that's what I did this time. But anyways, it is what it is. I'm happy I got the win, so we'll take that and we'll move on. How are we looking on clock?
Less than a minute. That's a great catch, okay. Alex.
All right. We'll be right back with the next matchup. All right. This is usually where we have a break for our sponsors. We're 5 years in. We don't have any yet. So we're still keeping our fingers crossed for that if anybody's got any leads. But we can go ahead and dive into our last matchup from last week. I believe this is me, correct?
Yes, correct. Oh, no.
Nope.
This is Michael and Logan.
But I'm analyzing
Yes,
it.
correct. You are analyzing.
You are a buffoon. You're a buffoon.
Okay. All right.
Sorry. Michael Brown got his ass whooped. 96 to 182.
He didn't he?
Well, and what was painful about this is we saw it in real time. So Michael's baby shower was this weekend. Obviously, most of y'all's wives were at that event. So a lot of us got together and hung out at Underdog.
We had our own personal bar. Everybody else show up.
We did for a minute. And then all of a sudden there was children everywhere.
It won't be every week.
God,
I had my feet up.
I had my feet up too. No, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun getting to see everybody, but it was pretty awful watching it happen to Michael. He couldn't get anything going. He was having to watch Goddard in real time just beat his ass. I remember him saying that, he feels like if he gets less than 30 from Ja'Marr Chase, he has a chance. Well, he got less than 30 from Ja'Marr Chase. Ja'Marr Chase dropped 29.8, and he did not have a chance. Logan steamrolled this guy. Now, obviously, and man, maybe I'm in the minority here, and I'll get your opinion on it. But defenses are bullshit.
I knew you were going to say that. Look, point totals like this only happen when the defense shows up. So to a certain point, they are just inflationary. But I feel like we've got to have that. That's the research. That is every week.
That's the research?
Alex, you have to go play a matchup. You can't just draft the defense and play him all year. You end up like Matt, where he's got negative fucking points from his defense. Like, you have to sit there and weigh your options, pick a good matchup, and hope your defense puts up some fucking points. And that's exactly what Logan's did. He got to pick the Packers defense. Let's check. Did he pick the Packers? Did anybody pick the Packers? No, he went and picked him up from waivers for $1. And that one waiver dollar got him 26 points. I like that. I played. That's the position I struggle with the most, like finding who I'm going to start on a week-to-week basis.
Me too, but I just think it's nonsense. But it's fine. I mean, his defense could have had negative 20, and he was still would have hung 160. So we're splitting hairs here. Logan's team, there's not much to say. He had a field day. Ja'Marr Chase did exactly what he was supposed to do against the Commanders. Both those touchdown receptions were wide fucking open. It looked like they were playing against a college defense. Beautiful throws, but also it looked like he was 4 inches taller than the corner on him. Mm-hmm. 2 touchdowns from Zach Charbonnet has got to be just an absolute kick to the nuts. I remember whenever he got his first touchdown, Logan was like, "Oh shit, I started him." And Michael was like, "Did you really?" And then Michael pulled it up and just hung his head down low. So, I mean, that's rough. On the other side, Michael's side, your 2 flex options didn't show up. Higgins, you finally get him back in a great matchup. You got nothing. Jackson Smith-Njigba, last week he was awesome. This week, only 3 receptions. That's frustrating. Amon-Ra, he's your best player. Michael kept saying he's going to try to trade him. I don't think that's the move. But no, Michael's team is not very good. It's
not very good. What's got to suck, and I do have I'm invested in T. Higgins elsewhere. But it's frustrating watching him make these fucking circus catches and showing like he could be a dominant receiver, and he just gets no fucking work at all. It's so frustrating. And granted, he hasn't played the last couple weeks, but
even this game, like when they were down, there was a couple times they hit him, and his yards after a catch were impressive. Like he makes a good turn, and he has he's a good receiver.
I was hoping he would end up like before the Texans got Stephon Diggs. T. Higgins was the guy I was like, man, I sure hope the Bengals fuck that up and let him go, because he sure can be a difference maker. And I guess they just don't utilize him that way. But Michael just got fucking smoked. T. Higgins could have been circa 2019 Will Fuller, if you remember that game. And it still wouldn't have made a difference.
And then you look at Michael's bench, and you see all these other guys that are dropping just shit scores, and they're dealing with injuries. The only injury Michael's dealing with is Tua. So they're just
why is he still rostering Tua?
Well, he drafted him in the 3rd round, man. He's got to hold on
He
to him
drafted
strong.
him in the 7th round, but point well taken.
The only thing I'll say is this: Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, DK Metcalf. I'd rather have any of those 3 guys than one of the receivers I have in my roster.
Insane.
So good job, Logan. You drafted well. You stuck to the basics, and it's paying off. Don't botch it. Don't botch it. All right, let's get into next week's matchups. I'll let you take the first one.
Okay, so I'm somehow getting stuck with Makamara great again, which I just fucking hate saying. Makamara great again.
No.
Oh, wait, week 4. That's what I'm looking at.
No, you're right. I'm just saying no to. There's no way Nathan's projection's correct, is there?
Well, so let's go through it real quick. He's got Chase Brown and Justice Hill starting. That's a combined 12 points from the 2 of them. 14 points, sorry. I undercounted. He's got Justin Jefferson. He's got Chris Godwin. Great. You love it. Super confident in both of those guys. You've got a questionable carded off Sam Laporta for 9 points, basically. And then you've got a guy who's going to see 3 targets in Michael Pittman. And I guess you're hoping for the Khalil Shakur game. Like, I don't know what other options you have. Hopefully Joe Mixon's healthy. Like, I want to see Joe Mixon healthy. So I'm hoping that he gets him back at least. That would add 10 points to this projection to get him to 115. But outside of that, this projection just about makes sense.
Good Lord. 105 in week 4. This guy is hurting. This is gross.
Yes.
This is bad.
Yes. On the other side, this could get ugly. So we've got Alvin Kamara against Atlanta's defense. Atlanta does have a good rushing defense. Like they're not a slouch. So, but still projected for 19 points. Kamara should be fine. Jordan Mason against New England. New England is dog shit on defense. That he's going to run wild. CeeDee Lamb, I guess you guys always hope CeeDee Lamb does great. I think he's just kind of average, but I mean, 19.5 projection, you're hoping he shows up.
Okay, you shut your dumbass mouth.
He's no Nico Collins, I'll tell you that.
It's probably better.
I don't know. Scoreboard, bitch. Looking at Devontae Adams, you're hoping he shows up. I say likely. I'm just going to – tight ends are going to make us giggle all year. I'm going to go ahead and just lock in my answer with Josh here. I imagine you're going the same way.
Yeah, man. Are you fucking kidding me? I was shooketh looking at Nathan's team. That's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. Outside of Jefferson and Godwin, it's one of the grossest things I've ever seen. Yeah, Josh should be good to go. I'll go
and Brock Purdy won't play. That's the other thing. So,
do you think he actually won't play?
I actually think he won't play at least 1 week. Like back injury, they've already come out and said they're like preparing the backup. I don't even remember who that is.
Yeah. So do you not know who's the backup for Purdy?
Hopefully this tells me, because if it doesn't, I'm fucked here. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I have no idea. We'll come back to that. Yeah, this is gonna be a hard one to watch. Sorry, Nate. The next matchup, I'll take it. Is it Chris Trenton?
Yes.
Okay. Chris versus Trenton. Chris is projected 118 to Trenton's 128. So we have a pretty lopsided one here as well. You're hoping Jalen Hurts gets back on track against Tampa Bay. Ramondre, you're not going to get much against San Fran. I'll tell you that right now.
No, that may not be true, because they just had Hargraves go down. So their 2 starting defensive tackles are out for the year. Like, I get it. San Francisco is always going to be good because you've got Fred Warner at linebacker against the run. But I mean, I don't know.
I just think they're smart enough to understand, like, hey, we'll stack the box. Like, someone else is going to have to beat us.
Okay,
and there's no one else to do it. And then Tennessee's got a good defense, man. And so you're having to trot out Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane. Now, could Juwan Jennings drop 50 again? Maybe. That being said, I think Trent's going to beat his ass. Marvin Harrison Jr. against Washington, 16.6 is way underprojected. I would slam the over on that after seeing what Jamar Chase just did to them. Malik Neighbors against Dallas. We'll see. I mean, I'm a Dallas fan, and I think that we're going to be the worst we've been since 2020. I still think we're going to come out and beat the Giants' ass.
Yeah.
You're hoping to get some more out of Shaheed against Atlanta. He goosed you last week. Man, Chuba projected 14.4. Is he just the only guy in that backfield?
No,
That
he's
must be
not, but
nice.
he's taking control of it.
Okay.
At least until Jonathan Brooks gets back.
Right. And then Patrick Mahomes, we'll see. This game has defensive, slow, gross, disgusting movement written all over it.
And nobody would have thought the Vikings were the number one defense coming into this year. And if you listen to ESPN, they are the 85 Bears now, like the way people see them. And Trenton just happened to trip into them too.
Yeah, well, you gotta love that. But I will say this: I watched their first two games because I just have Aaron Jones, and I thought that their defense did look great. But what they did to y'all, the Texans,
yeah,
that was nasty.
Yeah, not good.
That was nasty. Yeah. But anything else you want to add here?
No, I'm with you. I'm going to take Trenton here too. We just can't keep picking favorites. Then keeping track of the shit's going to be no fun.
Well, I need some good upsets then.
All right. Well, let me see if you'll bite on this one. This juicy little matchup here. I'm looking at Brandon, who has named his team Oh No. And then Austin, who is our last place team currently. Projections 111 for Austin, 122 for Brandon.
And we're talking about the 2-0-3 teams.
Yes, correct.
So after this week, we'll only have one completely defeated team.
Well,
this is exciting stuff.
Hey, we'll figure out who we think that's going to be here in just a minute. Right. But let me tell you a little bit about this juicy matchup we've got. So we have Jared Goff. Can I interest you in some Jared Goff? Projected for 15.5 points against Seattle. Still starting Javonte Williams, still starting Zamir White. No viable options on the bench for Austin, obviously with the glaring exception of Christian McCaffrey, RIP. Mike Evans against Philadelphia, not going to be great against Darius Slay. Rashee Rice could go absolutely nuts against the Chargers, so you're hoping for that. Brock Bowers has been a gem. So you have exactly two people on your roster to look forward to if you are Austin. Whereas on the other side, man, Kyron looks good. Man, Derrick Henry looked good this week. Hadn't really looked good coming into this, but finally had his breakout with the Ravens. Cortland Sutton, Roma Dunze, Tyler Lockett, and J.K. Dobbins. Man, coming into this year, if I told you that was going to be your flexing receivers / flex options, you would have probably shot yourself at that campsite. Wouldn't have made it home. How do you take Brandon? How do you take anybody and put your name behind? I think this team's going to win. But it's got to be Brandon. I mean, it's just got to be looking at these two teams.
I'm going to give it to you straight. I hate both of them. I hate the way their team looks. I hate everything about it. This is the battle of both missing their first round pick.
Yep.
Right? No A.J. Brown, no CMC. So even playing field. But I'll give it to my boy. I'll give it to Austin. Now, should he make a trade? Yes. But I do not feel good about Sutton. I do not feel good about Adunze, even after that 1 week. I think the Rams defense actually looked surprisingly good. I don't know what's going on with those fucking Seattle receivers. I trust DK, but the other two, it just seems to be a fucking coin flip. JK 15.4 against Kansas City? I don't think so. Guy.
Yeah, maybe not.
So CJ hopefully has a bounce back week and shreds them, but Chicago's defense is not bad. Kyron's not going to get 3 touchdowns again.
So I was texting Brandon during the game, obviously, and talking an appropriate amount of shit. I wouldn't go too hard on our producer, Brandon.
Sure.
But one thing I did say is man, CJ, I just don't, even when he's just worthless on the ground, completely and utterly worthless. So he's a Joe Burrow kind of guy where you're hoping to get all those points through the air. I don't know how many games CJ's going to throw for 3 or 4 touchdowns, but that's what you're going to have to get for him to be worth being QB5 drafted this year.
Yeah. Well, if you did any pre-draft research, everyone said to stay away from him because of that.
Yeah.
No one's doubting his NFL talent or potential. They're just more saying that your rushing is not there. It's non-existent. So exactly what you said. How many 3 touchdown games are you going to have? Probably 4, right? And if you're only getting 4, then you are not living up to your draft capital.
Not even close.
Yeah. So, and then do you think Derrick Henry is going to really have a good game against Buffalo?
No, I don't.
I think the Ravens are going to get down. It's going to be Justice Hill. Is that his name? Justice Hill?
Justice Hill.
Okay. So I could see Austin taking this one. I'll take it just to change it up. But this is gross. This is the toilet bowl for sure. All right, next matchup. Is it CJ, Matt Ruiz?
CJ and Matt.
Okay.
Close projection.
Yep. This is not by any means a landslide. Baker Mayfield against Philadelphia. We just saw Derek Carr go in there this week and come back down to earth. We saw Baker Mayfield struggle this past week as well. It can't feel great to have to start him and Rachaad White, also knowing that Bucky's probably taken this job. James Cook, you feel good about. He's been great. Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Romeo Doubs. I mean, that's not fun. On Matt's side, Joe Burrow against Carolina. I don't know what to expect from this. I don't know. They're now desperate. They're 0-3. They may just get to a point where they're trying to control the clock. Because I think this past week was they're trying to make a statement week, and they got those big bomb touchdowns to Jamar, but because they left too much clock left, the Commanders were able to come back in there and do their thing. So it'll be interesting to see their strategy. Devontae Smith, if he doesn't play, Matt's getting steamrolled. I'll tell you that right now. But we do have a pretty interesting dynamic here between the Tampa Bay and the Eagles, between Devontae Smith and then Baker and Rachaad White. That being said, I think I'm going, God, Bijan against New Orleans. I thought New Orleans had a good run defense, though. Man, I don't know. What are you doing? Give me some help here.
I was going to go ahead and I was going to lock in CJ here. I think CJ just has more upside play with the one exception of Bijan Robinson. Like James Cook could always go off for 30 points. Garrett Wilson, same. Zay Flowers. These are number one guys that, could.
Garrett Wilson cannot go off for 30 points. He can't.
I think he could.
With Patrick Surtain on him?
I think you forget. He's the first rounder on this team. He is the guy.
I understand that, but let me tell you his last three scores, 12, 10, 14.
Yeah, not great. Wait until him and Aaron Rodgers get on the same page. Look, I'm not advocating. I'm just saying Garrett Wilson has talent. Garrett Wilson has Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. Devontae Adams used to have those games. There's no reason Garrett Wilson can't. That's my whole argument. That's all I'm saying. I like his
Respectfully, Garrett Wilson is not Devontae Adams, at least yet.
Well, I will just say I'd rather have Garrett Wilson this week than Devontae Smith with missing his frontal cortex. So I will be sticking with CJ. And then you took Matt, right?
Okay, I'll take Matt on the caveat that Smith plays.
Oh, okay, pussy.
Okay.
Are you popping over there? I don't know.
Oh,
all
I'm
right.
popping.
So let's talk about our premier matchup of the week. I'm looking at Logan Barnes, number one team, juggernaut, team with the highest projection this week against our freshly 1-2 co-host Alex. Coming off a win. It'd be nice to get a couple of them in a row. Here's what it's going to take to do it. Here's what it's going to take to do it, Alex. You've got to hope that Lamar Jackson doesn't get into that shootout with Buffalo because that is bad news for you. I've got to tell you. Travis Etienne against Houston. Houston is Charmin soft against the run. The rest of this, James Conner could go off. Jamar Chase will go off. Nico Collins will go off. Hopefully, obviously. Dallas Goedert, tight end 1. How do you like that? DK Metcalf, wide receiver 7 on the year. Man, this is an intimidating team to be up against this week. I don't envy you. Here's what you've got to take on the dragon, to slay the dragon. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's one of those guys. Kyler Murray is just up there underneath like the Lamars and the Josh Allens. Sucks you're playing Lamar. Breece Hall should absolutely go wild. Same with Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones looks like he is just going to get so many fucking touches in that Minnesota offense, and especially if Sam Darnold's banged up and they've got to go to a backup. Aaron Jones is a good play this week. Brandon Ayuk, to your point, hasn't shown up at all, averaging 7.6 points on the year. Ugh, disgusting. George Pickens, wide receiver 2. Trey McBride, also hurt. Man, it's honestly pretty shocking your projection is as high as it is.
Right.
Running backs are carrying the weight there for sure.
4 that I'm starting. I'm starting 4 running backs.
If this was an actual betting line, like if we had to take Logan -3, I think it could be Logan -15. I'd still be taking him.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I think I get steamrolled. I'm not fucking around here. I think I'm going to absolutely get steamrolled. I don't think Trey McBride even plays. The Steelers, I think Pickens looks great, but the Steelers just play disgusting defensive, chew the clock, games and it does nothing for me. And looking at Logan's team, my God, dude, I think I'm going to get steamrolled. So anyways, yes, I'm happy that I won that game. I wish we were in a super flex. If I could throw out Kyler and Jaden Daniels, I would be feeling good. I'd be feeling good. You know what's shocking? How is Gabe Davis projected 10 points? How is that possible? He has dropped 9, 7, and 3. and now they're making me question if I should drop him or not, because every other wide receiver, their top projection is like 8.
It's a little crazy.
It's just annoying. Goddamn. Anyways, yes, I'm going to get destroyed. Let's move on. Final matchup we'll go over is you versus Michael. Michael is desperate. He's 1-2. He is the least amount of points scored. You are projected 134. You're a titan of industry. Jonathan Taylor against Pittsburgh, maybe you can get slowed down a little bit. Now, here, I'll give you the path to win. This is what you did with me. I'll say the same thing for Michael. It's the touchdowns. If your backs aren't getting in the end zone, that's where you are susceptible, because you have been living on the touchdown train. I think last week you had 9.
Yep.
So I think the most I've had so far is 4. So if your running backs are not getting in the end zone, which is possible, right? I mean, Tampa Bay's rush defense isn't anything to cry home to mom about. Drake London against New Orleans, we'll see. Maybe Stephon Diggs, I think, is going to be a snap player. And we'll see if Kittle even plays. If Kittle doesn't play, maybe that evens the odds a little bit. On Michael's side, you're needing Amon-Ra and DJ to really show up. You're needing that Geno, Jackson, Smith, Najigba stack to really show up. Obviously, these projections are wildly in your favor, so I'm taking you. That being said, I'm interested to see what your team's going to look like when the touchdowns don't come.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm already in a position where my flexes are just so up in the air. Talk about a guy who, how in the fuck does he have a projection like that? DeAndre Swift. How in the world do they expect?
That's a great point.
13.
That's a great point.
It's just not ever going to happen.
Has he done it once this year?
No. His average is 6.5 points. Like, he is not good. And he just got done playing the worst. I was excited to start him this last week because he was playing the worst defense in the NFL. And I think
13 for 20?
Yeah.
13 for 20?
Terrible. And he's not getting passes out of the backfield. Like, DeAndre Swift is fucking droppable.
Yeah, how is he projected that? That's ridiculous.
So Xavier Worthy may very well, I may just roll the dice on the boom bust play because, hey, Xavier Worthy, talk about touchdowns. He was targeted twice in the end zone this week. So Xavier Worthy is a guy that they're trying to get the ball in his hands as often as they can. He's an X factor.
Right. And if his floor is 4 points, is that really worse than DeAndre Swift's ceiling, which is 8?
No, it's not. No, it's not. So I similarly, I'm going to bet on myself, Alex. I can do it. I can do it this week.
Well, we're going to watch. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to close this out with?
No, man. Let's have a good week 4. Let's hope the injury bug stays away, and good luck, everybody.
All right. Good luck, everybody. Peace.